All right, everybody. Another way to go about this project is to start by using a ready-made form, something that we already know is waterproof, such as this soda bottle. I can use an orange juice container, a water or milk jug works just fine. One thing to consider when doing this is, number one, we have to be able to get our plaster back out of this. So the bottle or container needs to be able to be relatively easily deconstructed. Obviously, a glass bottle would not work for this. The other thing to consider is, if I'm using recognizable shapes like this, I'm going to have baggage with my work. Everybody's going to look at it immediately and think Coca-Cola or think milk jug. And do I want people to think Coca-Cola milk jug when they see my sculpture? That's up to you. So there's a good bit of carving that could possibly be done to this one to make it look much less like a milk jug. Here's a student example of someone who carved and removed a large quantity of plaster from this form, but it still does definitely read as a milk jug. It's a really interesting form, but that's something just to consider, that there is always going to be possibly this essence of what I started with if you don't remove a real large quantity of material. Another thing with a large form as big as this milk jug, as opposed to say something this small, is there's just a lot more surface area to carve on this, which means I might not be able to get detail everywhere on the piece as much as I would like to. Whereas if I started with a form that was much smaller along the lines of something this sized, I'm able to visit all the surface on the sculpture during the time limits of our project and be able to add lots more detail and texture and smooth the surfaces however I'd like to on something a little bit smaller, might be a hair more manageable. I have a couple that I've poured here just to show you. Again, let's say I wanted to be really boring, I could pour this, just a container that gives me this shape. It could become a tree stump, it can become anything in the world, but if I needed something, make this interesting, I have a lot of carving to do to make this an interesting form. Another one would be the example of how the soda bottle comes out. So I'm just going to open this one up for you guys. When we're opening these during class, please do this over a trash can. For the demo, I'm not going to, but otherwise, yes, please, this would be a trash can activity. I'm going to make a mess on this table for sure. Obviously, be careful not to cut yourself. So there we have our form. Again, all the things that tell us that this is a soda bottle are still on here. So if I leave these marks while they are interesting, I might want to change them, at least the texture, or modify them, so whenever someone sees my sculpture, first thing they don't think of is a soda bottle. But this is about the easiest way to get a positive to start with, so that way we can remove plaster.